Hey guys, and welcome back to Staying Sweet, the podcast. We are officially in series 4 of Staying Sweet. I can't believe that I'm saying those words this year. And actually, the week that I'm recording this, I've just hit my 2-year anniversary of Staying Sweet. This time has honestly flown by. And despite me taking such a long time off, like last year, to kind of figure out introducing and integrating video podcasting into this podcast, I feel like I've never truly felt more aligned to something and to a project. I feel like it's really been such a fun experience, and the fact that we are starting the year, we're starting 2024 with a new series, and series 4 just feels really symbolic, not only because we are in 2024, but I just feel like it has a really good ring to it, and I feel like so many things are going to evolve throughout this series. I'll be honest, I have started this podcast possibly sooner than I hoped to. And I think in continuing this podcast series and starting a new one quite close together from the previous series is just a testament to my constant rhetoric of messy action. And sometimes I kind of have to check myself and be less critical and less judgmental and actually just say to myself, do you know what? It's better to produce an episode and yes, have it be of somewhat good quality, but still putting something out there so people can find you and access you and kind of grow with you and grow the community, versus having a perfect series like orchestrated out, recorded, edited, and like ready to kind of upload. I think sometimes those raw and ready episodes are just that. They hit the nail on the head. They're some of my favorite types of podcasts from other people that I consume in the podcasting space. I find those more candid conversations are just so much more tangible and relatable. So Series 4 is certainly going to be that. I really, truly want to up-level the guests that I have on this podcast. Not that I haven't had incredible guests already, but I want to keep bringing you the same level of insight and inspiration across this series and beyond. I feel like 2024 has so much potential and I'm ready to see that through. And I just want to basically land in either your YouTube subscription box or your podcast feed on Spotify or however you listen to this podcast. I want it to land and I want you guys to click on this episode and listen and watch and consume and just feel so inspired and so motivated and called to action. And I think the start of the year always inspires me. I always have the biggest intentions for the year, and I love to reflect. I love to sit and journal and write, and I've created lots of templates and tools before, which I'm working on it, guys, and getting you some stuff and some freebies, I promise. But what I really love to do with that type of writing and that type of journaling and note taking is just sit in the feeling of what this year is going to be. Think about the themes, think about what is going to work for me. And obviously things are going to evolve naturally and organically, and you can never truly predict how a year is going to pan out. But if you can go in with some direction and some drive and feeling about how a year is going to pan out, there is so much you can do for it. And it's why I always say things like vision boards and monthly reflections, monthly goal setting is really going to be beneficial for you to kind of put your best foot forward and inspire you. And recently I did some vision boarding with my friend Becca, and we sat and we vision boarded and we got all our pictures down. We used free prints and we just got so inspired. And I'm not even joking you, I could feel the feeling of things kind of working and the cogs turning and things reeling themselves in for me and for her. And I honestly believe it is the reason why I have done some of the things that I have done in my life, is because my ideas, the things in my head, the driving force of what I do every day, coming to this recording studio and recording this podcast, is to really just inspire. And, I've got to know what I want in order to get myself roughly in that direction. It's better to take that messy action. And I know I drill it into you guys. I say it pretty much every episode. And at this point, it's probably really annoying. But I truly feel it. And I feel like when you have that rough idea, that rough plan, just ideas thrown on a page, you are like more likely to succeed than someone who just has it all up here and kind of lets it just sit in the ether that is your brain. And honestly, when I am in my like scatty, kind of in my like worst possible self, so like scatty thoughts, not really knowing what I'm doing, kind of forgetful because I'm storing so much stuff in my head. When I get like that and I get in that headspace, I know the only way to get out of it is to write everything down and to kind of throw ideas on a page, dump it so I can move on, so I can focus on the tasks. And more people need to do this. More people need to, see the signs of when you're kind of taking in too much data, too much information, storing it and not actually doing anything with it. It's like having your phone, and my phone is a really good example because it needs a deep cleanse. It needs a cleanse. But when you screenshot stuff, you're traveling to a destination and you need to know like what trains to get, whatever, you screenshot it, you leave it. I have probably got thousands of screenshots of that, just that alone, let alone other things, screenshots for like details of events and things that are going on, things that I want to remember, or potentially like where someone's gone to eat for food and they put it on their story and I'm going to make a note of that and I'm going to remember. You're not. It's just going to be clutter. It's going to be digital clutter. It's going to be, a really heavy headspace that is just not going to focus you. So this episode really is, I feel like everyone's done it. Everyone's done it. Even I've done it on Instagram. I've shared my ins and outs for 2024, and I've kind of posted stuff loosely around, business, but also around my personal life, things that I do that just like I want to either include in my life or I want to get rid of. And I feel like when you get clear and get specific on things that aren't really serving you or are kind of irritating you, wasting your time, that type of thing, just like list it down, because you are more likely to take that action when you see that list and you look and you say, okay, one of my ins was to get 10,000 steps a day. Perfect. I'm motivated. I'm going to get out on a walk now. I'm even just going to do 2,000 steps. I'm just going to move. I'm just going to take that messy action. I also feel like ins and outs are like New Year's resolutions, but kind of more lighthearted and less self-critical, and one of those things that you can pick it up and put it down. You don't have to be regimented every single day. But if it's an in, it's like, oh, it's something that I'm going to ensure I do. It's going to be something that's in fashion. And it's kind of like a fun spin on a New Year's resolution, which, as we know, New Year's resolutions are hard to stick to. And often when we burden ourselves with a million different things that we want to do, it can be really hard to keep motivated and continue those things throughout the year because things come up, plans change, circumstances happen. So this episode is about my ins and outs for business. I feel like I know I'm going to come up with some on the spot today, and I feel like I already have already. But because it's been the busiest start to the year, like I'm currently recording this still in January. You probably are going to see this, well, you definitely are going to be seeing this around February time. Fingers crossed, should the launch be all good. But I am pre-recording this because I had some time. And I'll be honest, I wasn't planning on getting in the studio today, but I decided to take that messy action, step in the studio, be here, be present, record, take in like the passion of the moment and kind of go off my own inspiration and just my knowing really that better to just get on with it, better to just deal with it. Because I remember what happened with the last series. I procrastinated finding a studio and it took a long time to get the third series out when I actually could have just been creating and keeping things going and keeping that momentum going. So despite that, I have had the busiest start to the year. I've been traveling. I'm likely set to travel again very, very soon. So in my head and in my eyes, I've got to be on my best game, because when I'm integrating travel into my business and pursuing that, it's really, really hard to stay on routine when you are abroad and when you are traveling. I'm also training for the London Marathon right now. We are counting down the days, guys. It is not long. It is less than 3 months. Oh my gosh, less than 3 months away. And that time I know is going to fly, and that is my real focus at the minute. And I'll be honest, I probably haven't been like the best person or like the best friend, the best person or the best kind of friend lately, because my head has just been so focused on, okay, I need to get out on a run today. Like, I need to rest up. I need to look at how I'm refueling. Like, all those things are taking in so much of my time. And one of my ins this year is to organize my year by the month and see it as a monthly plan and break it down to just that and focus on the next few weeks ahead of you. Because the minute you start to over plan and overthink, so aside from the marathon, that's something I do need to, plan for the full next couple of months. But if you're looking at something that feels like a goal that maybe you're not going to be tackling until the end of the year, yes, be thinking about it. But one of my ins for this year is just by focusing on the month by month breakdown and breaking down that month into critical goals for that time period, rather than, oh my gosh, this is the whole long list of things that I want to achieve, and if I don't achieve all these things, I'm a failure. I think people think as well, just because it's January, we don't need to complete everything. We don't need to tick off the entire list, guys. We have 12 months and it's so doable. And I even think how from January to now, so like literally first couple of weeks of the year, how much has changed in my running in that time period. And when I first started the month, I thought, there's no way I'm going to get to this level. Like, there's no way I'm going to feel ready or feel confident. My mindset has completely changed. And that is the power of breaking down your goals month by month, being critical of that time period and just drowning out the noise of everything around you that is not associated to your goals and what you want to achieve. So that's a big one for me. A really big one is, despite the busyness, despite the chaos, factoring in outside things like last minute travel trips for me for work and all those different things, just knowing that if I've set goals for that month, I'm going to meet those goals, and not to dwell too much on the months coming up and panic that we're running out of time, because we've got time. So another one of my really big ins for this year is outsourcing. And again, it comes down to that critical path and thinking hard about letting go, because I'm not very good at letting go. I am a stubborn person, and in my head, I've always been that person that's like, I might as well just do it. I might as well get it done, even if it means that my work actually suffers, because I'm spreading myself so thin that I'm not contributing and putting my all into everything. So outsourcing those processes that will speed up that critical path, will speed up my general overall process, will get me the best possible outcome of a situation, or better. Sometimes outsourcing is better for you because you can like offset that like need to think about that thing constantly, and say to yourself, do you know what, I'm going to let someone else deal with that. I'm just going to pay them for their time and for their commitment to helping me with this project, or part of your business. I've seen a lot of people, creators in particular, who are at that stage now where they're hiring for assistants because actually they've reached their capacity and they need to start thinking, okay, well, the only way to grow myself and grow my business is to bring someone else in and bring someone else on board. And that's not admitting defeat. It's just saying to yourself, do you know what? I'm ready now for this momentum, this growth, this next chapter. So outsourcing is a really big in for me. Another in, which I feel like we've got to plug other pods, because why the hell not? I want to listen to more podcasts. I really, really want to expand my listening. I want to expand my categories. I listen to a lot of business, a lot of wellness. I listen to a lot of the girlies, lots of the girlies. I listen to The Wellness Cafe. I listen to Sisters and Souls, Mel Robbins. There's so many. I need to list them all, really, and I will list them. I'll list some of my favorites in the description and the show notes. But I want to expand my listening. I want to be listening to more variety and thought-provoking podcasting. Stuff that's just going to inspire me, might trigger a thought, might help with my podcasting creation, and just will expand my general knowledge. And I feel like that kind of comes down to an in being maybe educating myself a little bit more, but in my industry. So definitely listening to more podcasts. I also want to start thinking seriously about not relying on social media. And what I mean by this is in my business and within my marketing strategies, and kind of thinking, I don't want to be like a scaremongerer, but kind of thinking, okay, if this platform was to go, where are my contacts? Where is my data? How do I find those people again? Like, it's kind of scary how much Instagram is my contacts book and my little black book of people. And what would happen if I lost that? Touch wood, oh my gosh, it scares me so much. I have actually lost my Instagram account before, and that was a scary time. Like, thinking back to it, it's actually so funny. I remember, it's not funny now. Well, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny back then. I had to upload a photo of me holding my Instagram handle in a picture. And I remember I was so distraught. I was like crying. My hair was up in like a top knot. And I was crying, and I think I was in a 1975 t-shirt. It's all coming back to me, but it's so funny how these people, these admins, it's probably bots now, to be honest, but these admins were probably looking like, this girl needs to get a grip. It's just an Instagram account. But they have the upper hand, and it's not a good thing. It really is not a good thing. I think, at the end of the day, if we're not backing up our data and our database of contacts in 2024, we are doing it wrong. So I'm thinking about that. I'm going to be thinking about how I can manage that data safely and, ensure that I've got my contacts in the bag. My next in for 2024 is strong financial literacy. Now, that to me kind of is very expansive, but I want to, again, be listening to new podcasts, so definitely like more financy podcasts. I want to attend more financial events and expos and talks and, meetings and that type of thing, networking panels, and just really expanding my literacy and understanding of financial data, business and finance, working as an entrepreneur, working as a self-employed person. I really want to get some experts on here, or just people that know what they're talking about, to talk all things financial, because there are so many different things that if you didn't know what you were doing and you were just deciding to become self-employed, you wouldn't know how to deal with them unless you knew someone. Like, I'm very fortunate that I had two parents in my life, and I still have two parents in my life, who understand like more than basic, but like they understand the financial literacy of being self-employed, and they were able to support me during my tax return and, establishing my business and things like that. But there are people out there who are going down the entrepreneurial route or starting a business or kind of working for themselves, and they don't have that person to ask questions to. And that, to me is like, where can we bridge the gap? Where can we bring people in? And I'd love to do more episodes on that. So that's definitely an in for this year. Also, linking back to that, I really want better financial boundaries. Now, what I mean by that is, again, it kind of links to the outsourcing. It kind of links to people I'm hanging out with, spending time with, who I'm working with, etc. I want to have really established knowledge in, okay, this is my forecast. This is what's coming in. This is where I'm going to be tweaking things. This, month I might not be in a position to be, going out every day. And it kind of crosses a boundary really for me. Not a boundary, but like it kind of blurs a line, because I am self-employed, and it's very easy to kind of think that money is, readily available to me, and actually it's not. Some of it does need to go back into financing my career, financing my travel expenses, financing, new equipment, that type of thing. So just having really clear boundaries throughout this year on, where my money's going and how I'm spending it. Again, kind of comes down to, whether I decide to outsource or not. just knowing where I'm putting my money, basically. The next in I've got written down here is attending more events out of my comfort zone. So that means to me, like, just showing up in more places, talking. I'd love to be on a panel. I've done it before. I did it in 2021, I believe. That was really out of my comfort zone. And honestly, I felt so nervous and I felt like I was chatting utter gibberish, but I actually vlogged it, and it took me so long to watch the clip over. Like, even when I was editing it in my podcast, even when I was editing my vlog, I just skimmed over it. I was like, I'll just include this chunk, and I wedged it in. I didn't even think. And then it took me maybe a good 3 or 4 weeks to just watch it all the way through and not cringe. But you're never going to develop that ability to talk in front of other people if you don't get yourself out there. So attending more things that are going to get myself out of my comfort zone. Speaking of jumping out of my comfort zone, and I'm saying jumping because it kind of ties into what I'm about to say, I went on a press trip recently in Maribel and in the French Alps, and I was, not as skilled as everyone there. Like, everyone on that trip was, black run and off-piste ski ability. I am a green-blue girly with occasional reds, and by occasional reds, I mean, if I'm forced to do a red, I will do a red. But I'm not good at it. I will literally slowly slalom all the way down. That trip for me was all about building my confidence and getting myself out there. And I'm so glad I did it because I had a really great time. In the end, it's just there was a lot of in the moment, like demons I was kind of overcoming. I wasn't even scared of the snow. It was just more the fear of not being perceived good enough or deserving enough to be on that mountain. And I feel like it's kind of a metaphor for life. Like, sometimes you're on this mountain and there's people skiing past you with parallel, down the mountain, and they're like, look at me. And then maybe they're not even doing that. Maybe they're not even saying, look at me, but they've got this power about them because they are literally head down, plowing down a red. And I'm just thinking, there's no way in hell that's ever going to be me. But if you don't try and you don't get yourself out there, you never truly know. And the reason I say jumping out my comfort zone is because I went paragliding. And do you know what is the funny thing? I knew for a fact I wasn't going to be scared of the paragliding bit. I was going to be scared of the off-piste skiing to get to said paragliding spot. And I was absolutely scared shitless. And I hope you guys aren't listening and playing this in a car with kids, but I was scared shitless because it was a lot. It was intense. And the off-piste bit, even though that was 30, 40 seconds of off-piste skiing, it was traumatic. That was the bit that got me. It wasn't even the skiing off the edge of a black run, an off-piste run, and into a parachute. Is because I almost relied on this feeling that the parachute was going to catch me, and I had no fear in that moment. I had just pure excitement and adrenaline. I love a roller coaster. I rely on the fact that the roller coaster is going to be safe, and if I get on, it's almost like the responsibility is no longer mine. But when you're skiing, the responsibility is solely you. You are carrying yourself. You are maneuvering yourself down a mountain. So yeah, I feel like those comfort zone moments, and I don't really know where the tangent kind of is for this, but I know I'm going on a tangent. I do feel like that feeling of being and going down a mountain when you're not in control, you kind of just let it happen. You're like, well, there's nothing I can do. Whereas when it's you're so tense, and it's just release it a little bit, just let go, just kind of relax into being on the mountain. And yes, okay, I'm in control in that moment, but I'm going to get down. I'm going to make myself make it work. It's going to happen. And if you fall over, which I did a few times, I'll be honest, on the last day, the last full day of skiing, I fell over a good few times, and I just laughed about it. It's not as bad as you think it's going to be falling. Yes, there can be some dangerous moments, but luckily all my falls were funny. So that's how I kind of see it. Stepping out of your comfort zone, knowing that there's going to be people that are going to parallel ski past you, and that's okay. So Yeah, that's a real one for me. More things out of my comfort zone, trying something new, being able to say, do you know what? The paragliding didn't scare me. It was the off-piste bit that scared me. Yeah, moving on. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is such an in for me. Guys, we cannot be sitting on our laurels and not have thoughts in our heads. Like, I truly feel like critical thinking is so underrated, and reasoned judgment, clear thought, just being able to string a sentence together, have a healthy debate, have a conversation. Like, we are ready. We need to be, in a good mindset and a good place to be able to have opinions on things. And it's funny because on my Instagram, I put down not have an opinion on everything, which is kind of ironic because now I've said about critical thinking, but it's less so about having an opinion on everything. But when you're having an opinion, when you've got one, making it, clear, concise, and really knowing where you stand, like, that is a much better place to be, and having those opinions where possible. Critical thinking, reasoned judgment. I think it's hot. I think it's going to be a hot thing for 2024. The last in that I've got here for 2024, I've written down vlogging and YouTube, and it's not me trying to constantly perpetuate that we need long form video, but guys, we need long form video back. People are going to want to enjoy that curated long form content from not just creators and influencers and people on social media, but brands as well. And I'm noticing this more and more. I'm seeing brands like Astrid and Miu launch, and have their own podcasts. I think I really want to touch on this on another episode, but talking about how you could integrate a podcast or a YouTube channel or a vlog channel into your business model, and how it could actually access and tap into a completely new demographic of potential customers or potential, people, clients even, that might be interested in working with you. I've got a side to my business, which is photography. I don't always dip into it. I work here and there, and it's not like the forefront of my business anymore, but it's definitely still an integral part of my business. But my photography side of things, I know if I was creating just that and I was shooting photography, creating a YouTube channel that vlogs and documents shoots would be so epic. That is a niche in itself. People would want to invest in that and watch that. I used to, back in the day, I can't remember the name of the girl off the top of my head, but I used to watch a photographer who used to react to other people's shoots and like America's Next Top Model, and she would show you how to shoot certain things. And I remember the very early days of my photography career, I was watching and consuming her content all the time because it was so informative and so helpful. So I feel like there's a lot to be said about YouTube and vlogging, and I feel like it's going to come back really strong this year, in particular for brands and businesses. They're going to realize its potential. Also, the potential really with shorts, and it's kind of still slept on a little bit. It really does help build your channel, and it's another place for you to dump your reels and your TikToks. So don't sleep on it. You really could be growing an audience. It's definitely an in from me, and I need to get better. I need to be showing up more, but I've got vlogs and I love vlogging. So it's something that's here to stay. I did Vlogmas in 2023 and adored it. So, it's one of those things that it's just lovely to consume and lovely to create as well. So now we've reached the outs segment of today's podcast, and I feel like they're all kind of obvious ones for business, and I feel like I could have gone really, really specific, but I'm going to reel off a couple of these because they are so relatable, and I know everyone is going to be feeling like, yes, let's get this out. The first one being a poor work-life balance. I am so guilty of this. I'm just not good at all. I have no structure. Even going into 2024, I am guilty as charged. My structure is just non-existent, and it's led to the next thing that I've written as one of my outs, which is burnout. And burnout is going to be inevitable if you have no structure and no plan, if you have all your ideas up in your head and you're not listing them down, and if you're not, really breaking down the tasks at hand and your week ahead and being realistic. Like, I have a really I've got better at it, to be honest, but I still struggle sometimes with saying yes to everything because I want to kind of people please in a way, not always, but sometimes I'm like, I really want to go to this event because this person is hosting it or this PR is hosting it and they always go above and beyond for me and I want to be there for them and I want to celebrate them or I want to support them. And actually I really could be at home and maybe that should be a me time situation, and maybe that's when I need to be at the gym rather than going out, or vice versa. You know, some days I will put too much time and attention into being at the gym and working out, and the life balance gets in the way. And actually, girl, why aren't you working? Why aren't you hustling more? So all those things factor in quite well for things that I want out this year. I mean, it's easier said than done, so don't worry, you're not alone if you're kind of feeling like, Alice, that's impossible. Some days I do feel like I've really cocked it up here. The next thing that I've listed down, and it kind of links into this work-life balance situation, is not giving 100% in my projects or putting 100% equally into my projects. And that goes down to spreading myself too thin, thinking that I can have my cake and eat it too, fingers in all the pies, all the different metaphors for trying to do too much and juggle too much. I feel like that really needs to go this year, and you know, it's self-explanatory. The next one is revenge bedtimes and procrastinating, just putting my work away. I do this a lot. I even did this last night when I suddenly decided I was going to be coming into the studio today. I was like, I need to write something down. I need to have a plan and prep. And I'm so glad I did it. But I was procrastinating it for so long throughout my day that I was doing it at like 11:30 at night. And I feel like, you know, is this my best work? I'm becoming more self-critical. I'm thinking, you know, did I go to bed super late because I thought it was going to be a bad idea to be here today, but it's not. Like, I'm out. I'm getting things done. I've recorded this podcast. So revenge bedtimes really need to go. And this idea that like I haven't done enough in my day to like deserve bedtime, that's a really messed up thing. And I don't really know like how that even started, but I've been doing it for like maybe even since uni, so maybe since my degree. Actually, it's been a long time since my degree, so I should have got out of those habits, but it's easier said than done. The next thing that I've listed down as a major out is comparison in business, guys. Competition is important, but don't let it fully decipher and dictate your decision making. Don't let it take over and influence you to the point where your personal brand is unrecognizable, where you're doing things and creating things and trying to be things that you don't want to be. Like, you will lose yourself and you will not be able to create. You will not have ideas. You'll lack passion when you try and be something that you're not. So, you know, be aware of competition, but don't let it infiltrate you and make you think that what you're doing and creating isn't good enough, because that's not true. I've then listed overly high standards. Now, I'm a girly with, I was going to say high standards. I do have high standards for myself and I have high standards for certain areas of my life. But I'm talking those like overly high standards where it literally makes you feel like you are stuck in the mud. Like nothing you're doing is perfect. Perfectionism, like debilitating perfectionism. When you step away from that and you take that action when you're, you know, kind of half done, sometimes you get better work. I feel like I've done a better podcast today because I've just jumped straight into it rather than thinking, okay, what is going to make season 4 so perfect, because I've got to level it up again and again and again. But no, I don't. I just need to take action, and that's what I'm doing. So overly high standards, it's got to go. Just be measurable in your approach. And my last out for 2024, which I feel like quite a few of you could relate to, is over scrolling instead of searching. So what I'm saying here is, if you're somebody like me who has to market their business, has to do a bit of market research, has to get themselves on TikTok, see what's working out, see what people are creating, okay, if I'm searching stuff, I'm not getting distracted. Like, distraction needs to get in the bin, because otherwise we are going to get nothing done and it's going to be incredibly unproductive. And I feel like so many of us can relate to that. So that is the last thing that is totally out for this year. I really, really hope this episode has been a bit of fun and a good ease in to the start of series 4. I can't wait to see how this podcast evolves this season. Please let me know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or if not, I've left a little poll underneath this episode for you guys to leave your feedback. I would love to hear from you regarding, guests you want to see, topics you want me to cover, things that you want me to break down. We have got it all coming this season. There are no stones unturned for series 4, so you can let me know. You can give your opinion and also join me over on my other social media channels, and my main one being my Instagram, which is just at Staying Sweet Podcast. I really hope you join and stick along for series 4. It's going to be so much fun. I just know it. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode. Stay sweet.